You might be sabotaging your own life right now and not even realize it. Worse, you might think you're doing everything right. The more effort you put in, the more things seem to stall. The more you try to think positively, the more reality gives you reasons to doubt. It's like running on a treadmill, exhausting, draining, and yet you're not moving forward. And the reason behind it is simple, shocking, and no one told you. You're attracting exactly what you most want to avoid. Most people believe they attract what they want. But the truth runs deeper. You attract what you feel. And when there's a gap between what you desire and what you vibrate, no mantra, book, or course will help. Life gives you exactly what your mind silently feeds on. Is it controversial? Yes. But it's also liberating, because once you understand this, the game changes, fast. In this video, you'll discover why thinking about what you don't want is actually creating exactly what you want to avoid. You'll understand how small daily doubts sabotage big dreams and why your body may be sending out signals completely opposite to what you want to attract. Most people have never heard this before, which is why most remain stuck in the same place. If you've ever wondered why things seem to go in circles, why opportunities slip through your fingers, or why luck only knocks on other people's doors, the answer might be where you least expect, in what you think, feel, and repeat every day. Get ready to see what's been invisible and learn, in practice, how to flip the switch on your reality. Some people still think thoughts are just thoughts, but anyone who's examined their own life up close realizes that everything begins in the mind. When an idea repeats in your head, it becomes a silent script for the body to follow. And it doesn't have to be anything huge. A person who spends the day thinking, "I'm not good enough," will, without noticing, begin to act like it's true, turning down opportunities, self-sabotaging, giving up before even trying. Thought is a seed. Plant it enough times, and eventually, it grows. The curious part is that most people don't do this on purpose. They live on autopilot, ruminating on the same ideas day after day. That's when a vibrational pattern sets in. This isn't esoteric talk. It's practical observation. What dominates the mind ends up shaping your decisions, habits, even the way you speak. Have you noticed how people who always complain always seem to have something to complain about? It's not coincidence. It's unconscious and powerful repetition. There's a classic story about this, about a salesman who believed he was bad at selling because he was shy. He repeated this so many times that, in meetings, he could barely look clients in the eye. But when he shifted his focus to what he actually wanted, to be heard, to create value, to build connection, everything changed. The result? He sold more than ever. What changed was the thought that began to occupy more space. What you think about frequently becomes behavior, and behavior becomes reality. That's why you need to pay full attention to what takes center stage in your mind. If you don't consciously choose what to think, the world chooses for you, and it usually chooses fear, lack, and insecurity. The secret is simple but requires discipline. Feed thoughts that move you forward, not thoughts that hold you back. And this is where the turning point begins, because understanding this leads directly to a crucial point that almost no one notices. It's almost automatic. When something goes wrong, the mind goes into alert mode and starts repeating everything else that could go wrong. It seems like a form of protection, but in practice, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. The more you focus on problems, the more they grow. It's like driving while staring only at the rearview mirror. You end up crashing. The mind doesn't distinguish between desire and fear. It only recognizes where your attention goes. And whatever gets attention gets stronger. A lot of people go around saying, "I don't want to fail. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to struggle." And guess what? The subconscious only hears the keyword: failure, rejection, struggle. It doesn't care that the sentence starts with "don't." The mind creates images, and those images guide your actions. So the person starts making choices based on fear, avoids exposure, refuses risk, settles for less than they deserve. All because they're vibrating in what they want to avoid. For example, imagine a woman who spent her whole life saying she didn't want to repeat her parents' marriage. She grew up surrounded by arguments, betrayal, a lack of affection, an emotionally chaotic environment. So fearful of going through the same, she became controlling, always on alert, anticipating the next disappointment. And, without realizing it, she recreated exactly what she feared most. This happens more often than you'd think. Focusing on what you don't want is a subtle trap. It seems like caution, but in reality, it's self-sabotage disguised as protection. That's why the big shift lies in replacing "I don't want to suffer" with "I want to live in peace." It seems like a small detail, but it changes everything. The energy shifts from defense to creation. And that's when things truly start taking shape, because the focus moves from fear to purpose. But even after understanding this, many people still get stuck. And the reason is one of the sneakiest and most dangerous in the manifestation process. Doubt is sneaky. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Sometimes all it takes is one loose thought like, "Can I really do this?" for all your progress to unravel. When the mind isn't convinced, it can't sustain the energy needed to move in the right direction. It's like pressing the gas while pulling the handbrake. It burns energy, makes noise, but goes nowhere. Confidence is the fuel of manifestation. And look, it's not about blind optimism. It's about inner coherence. When the mind doubts, the heart hesitates, and the action weakens. Ever notice how hard it is to make a decision when you're torn? The mind goes back and forth, overanalyzing everything, and in the end, nothing happens. This applies to everything: business, relationships, personal goals. Doubt paralyzes. And the most dangerous part? It often wears the mask of being realistic, as if doubting means being sensible. A practical example. Imagine someone who wants to change careers but keeps asking, "What if it doesn't work out?" They update their resume, take a few courses, but always delay taking the leap. Why? Because deep down, they don't truly believe it's possible. And life responds to that with blockages, closed doors, and missed connections. As long as the mind is split between wanting and fearing, nothing solid can be built. That's why developing unshakable faith, even just a little at first, makes a big difference. It's not about delusion, it's about alignment. Because without alignment, the energy of creation scatters. And here's a factor few people notice, yet it controls much of our lives without us realizing it. The subconscious is like a child that writes down everything you repeat, without judging whether it's true or false. If you say every day that you're bad with money, it will accept that and turn it into reality. Repeat it enough, and it becomes a belief. And beliefs turn into patterns. The scariest part? This all happens silently, while you're brushing your teeth, driving, or listening to music. The subconscious is always recording, and the more emotion you attach, the stronger it registers. That's why negative affirmations, even as jokes, are dangerous. "I'm a disaster. Nothing ever works out for me." That's impossible for people like me. Every time you say these things, you're literally programming your mind to obey that logic. It's like writing code on a computer. Except in this case, the program runs inside you, silently controlling your decisions. This applies to self-esteem, money, health, everything. Want a real-life example? People who grew up hearing, "Money doesn't grow on trees," often associate wealth with something nearly unreachable. Even as adults, with opportunities right in front of them, they hesitate, procrastinate, self-sabotage. Their subconscious was trained to believe that getting rich is wrong, difficult, or dangerous. Breaking that belief requires more than willpower. It requires vigilance over what you think, feel, and repeat daily. And here's a subtle detail that few people consider. It's not enough to reprogram the mind with pretty phrases. You need to create internal evidence that supports these new beliefs. You have to feel as if it's already true. Because repetition forms belief, but emotion is the glue that cements it. And once this new programming starts to shift, something powerful begins to happen in your body. The body speaks, and it speaks loudly. Every thought that runs through your mind triggers a physical reaction, even if it's imperceptible at first. When you think of something exciting, your body warms up, your posture changes, your breathing opens. When you think of something frightening, your body contracts, your stomach tightens, your muscles tense. This isn't poetry, it's biochemistry. Thought releases hormones. Dopamine and serotonin raise your vibration. Cortisol and adrenaline do the opposite. Have you noticed how after a day full of worry, your body feels heavier? That's the dense vibration caused by continuous negative thoughts. On the flip side, when you spend time laughing with friends or listening to something inspiring, it feels like the world becomes lighter. It's not a coincidence. The energy of the body molds itself to the energy of the mind. That explains why some people seem to shine. It's high vibration in action. If you want to put this into practice, try the following. Every day, set aside 5 minutes to listen to a song that deeply inspires you. Close your eyes. Imagine your ideal life as if it were already real, and observe how your body responds. It may seem simple, but exercises like this raise your frequency, and elevated frequency attracts aligned situations. Vibration isn't just a mood. It's a compass for the universe to understand what you're asking for. And this is exactly where many people go wrong. They think that just thinking positively is enough. But if the body doesn't vibrate along, it won't work. It's like saying, "I'm fine," while holding a knot in your chest. The universe picks up on the knot, not the words. That's why the next step is essential. Align your thoughts with real actions that confirm, in the physical world, what you want to build in your mind. Thinking is the first step. Feeling is the second. But without action, it all remains just good intention. Many people believe that the power of thought alone brings miracles, but forget one essential detail. Nothing happens without movement. The mind is the map, but actions are the legs that get you to the destination. And it doesn't need to be a giant leap. Sometimes, one small daily step is enough to start turning gears that have been stuck for years. Imagine someone who wants to be recognized as a great professional, but they keep hiding, don't share their work, and avoid challenges. The energy of the desire is there, but the vibration of the action is elsewhere. And when thought and action don't walk hand in hand, the universe gets confused and responds with more confusion. The law of attraction works, yes, but only when paired with the law of action. Without it, everything stays as theory. Want practical examples? If you want to improve your finances, start learning about simple investments like government bonds, index funds, or building an emergency fund in a digital bank. If you want to attract love, work on your self-esteem, put yourself in social spaces, stop running from connection. If you want to change careers, don't wait for the perfect scenario. Update your resume, start a course, send a message on LinkedIn. Movement creates opportunity. A lot of people are waiting for a sign from the universe to take action, when in reality, the sign is your own desire to change. And when that desire finds the courage to act, that's when the magic begins. But still, some people remain stuck in the same cycles, and the reason goes deeper than it seems. The old paradigms running everything in the background. Paradigms are like invisible glasses that distort everything we see, and the craziest part is, most people don't even know they're wearing them. They're mental patterns formed in childhood, based on what we heard, saw, and felt over and over again. That's for rich people. Men don't cry. Money changes people. Phrases like these become internal commands that shape behaviors, even decades later. And that's why, even when someone wants to change, they end up repeating the same life. These paradigms run on autopilot, like software installed deep in the brain. And the older they are, the harder they are to notice. Have you ever realized how some people always attract the same type of partner or constantly struggle financially? It's not bad luck, it's programming. Their mind was trained to operate that way. And without conscious reprogramming, it will keep running the same script indefinitely. The good news is, just like they were created, these paradigms can be replaced. But that requires conscious repetition. A practical tip: choose a powerful new belief, like, "I am worthy of abundance," and repeat it daily with intention. Look at yourself in the mirror, write it in a notebook, listen to it as an audio. It may seem simple, and it is, but repetition opens space in the subconscious for a new version of you. It's not magic, it's neuroplasticity. And when these new paradigms begin to install, something curious happens. You start noticing signs, people, and opportunities that previously went unnoticed. Reality changes because the filter changes. But here's a detail few people catch. As you reprogram the mind, the body also joins the process and begins to emit signals, pick up vibrations, and communicate with the world in a completely new way. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the vibe was off, even if no one said a word? That's vibration in action. The human body is like an antenna, constantly emitting and receiving signals from others. Even if the mind is rationalizing everything, the body feels. Energy doesn't need explanation to be perceived. It's silent, but powerful. And that's why the famous phrase, "I don't know why, but I didn't like that person," is often spot on. When someone is vibrating fear, insecurity, or anger, The body expresses it in gestures, posture, even the eyes. And people around them pick up on that. Even if no one says anything, the energy field is communicating. On the other hand, people who vibrate peace, enthusiasm, or confidence can change an entire room just by being in it. This isn't mysticism, it's natural sensitivity. Vibration comes before words. It announces who you are before you even say hello. Want to notice this in practice? Observe how your body reacts around certain people. With some, you relax. With others, you shut down. That's not random. It's vibrational exchange. And more. Pay attention to how you feel after a conversation, a meeting, or even a phone call. Do you leave feeling energized or drained? These clues clearly show what you're emitting and absorbing. The most fascinating part is that by training the mind, you change the body's vibration. And by changing that vibration, you change the kind of connections you attract. The right people start showing up, opportunities arise from nowhere, doors open without forced effort. But all of this only happens when your internal mental frequency is truly aligned with the life you want to experience. Some people always say, I think positively all the time, but nothing changes. And here's the thing. It doesn't help to think one thing if, deep down, your frequency is saying something else. The conscious mind might say, I'll succeed. But if your heart says, I'm not sure I'm capable, the universe picks up on the second message. It's like trying to tune into a radio station without hitting the right frequency. All you get is static. And that static is what blocks your results. Mental frequency isn't what you think every now and then. It's what you feel consistently. It's the background music of your life. And if that background track is playing fear, insecurity, or scarcity, it doesn't matter how many pretty phrases you say. The real vibration is still that. The body feels it, the subconscious acts on it, and reality reflects it. Frequency doesn't lie, and that's why so many people stay stuck, even with the best intentions. A practical example. Someone wants to attract prosperity, but feels guilty just thinking about making more money. They were taught that money drives people apart, that rich people are selfish, and that got imprinted into their system. So even if they want to grow, internally they're vibrating conflict. And unless that's resolved, nothing will be sustainable. Change begins when you identify the interference and shift the frequency. The key lies in full alignment. Thought, feeling, and action in harmony. And that requires honesty about what you're truly feeling. Not what you want to feel, but what's actually there. Because only when you acknowledge what's blocking you can you transform it. And in that transformation, a powerful force is revealed, but it can also be your worst enemy if misaligned. Yes, we're talking about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a sneaky mechanism. It acts like it's protecting you when, in fact, it's stopping you from growing. You know that feeling of really wanting something but always finding a way to delay, forget, or complicate it. That's what happens when your conscious desire clashes with an unconscious belief. The mind says, I want it, but the internal system screams, you can't, you shouldn't, or you don't deserve it. And that conflict paralyzes everything. This misalignment creates invisible resistance. Someone might start a new project but quickly lose momentum. They follow a diet for a week, then sabotage themselves. They begin a promising relationship but start doubting themselves. Deep down, a limiting belief is holding the reins. And willpower alone isn't enough if the subconscious still believes, this isn't for me. The subconscious always wins. It's the autopilot of life. To deal with this, you need to align three things: what you think, what you feel, and what you do. Want to change your life? Start by examining your deepest beliefs. Question the phrases you've repeated forever. I'm not good with numbers. Every relationship ends. I never get lucky. These affirmations become destiny. A practical suggestion: write down everything you believe about the area of life you want to transform, and ask yourself if it still makes sense. When that alignment begins to happen, self-sabotage starts to lose power. Because now, the desire is no longer walking alone. It comes accompanied by the certainty that it's possible. And that's when the magic of transformation becomes real. But of course, all of this only comes to life when you understand the power behind every mental choice, and when you're willing to rewrite your own story from the inside out. Now that you understand how your thoughts silently shape your reality, tell me, are you going to keep feeding what's holding you back, or will you start vibrating what transforms you? How many opportunities have you missed because you were stuck in old beliefs, unresolved emotions, and invisible patterns? How many times did you think the problem was out there when it was really in the frequency you were emitting? Here's the serious question. If you don't change what's happening inside you, how much longer will your life stay the same? Because what you attract doesn't depend on luck. It depends on alignment. And the good news is, now you know how to break the cycle. But tell me, what has held you back the most so far? Which of these truths hit you the hardest? Share it in the comments. I really want to read it. If you've made it this far, comment change. And if this content made sense to you, if it stirred something inside, if it showed you something no one has ever explained to you like this, then you need to be with us in the next videos. Because this is just the beginning. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and come learn how to reprogram your mind, change your vibration, and finally live the life you know you deserve. See you in the next video.